Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Julie Mann, and I show men and women how they can create healthy, happy, sustainable lives. And I'm really delighted because today I'm joined by Liza Lomax. Hi, Liza.
Hello.
So good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
So, for those of you that don't yet know who Liza is, she is an emotional eating specialist. I'll get my teeth around that, and she's also a body coach. So before we kind of get into that, it'd be really great to know, Liza, did you grow up in a family that was healthy? Were you taught how to eat good, wholesome, healthy food? Where did it all begin?
No. That's a big no. um I came from, I don't, how do I word it? It's like, you know, where I came from shaped the person who I am today. Okay. So anything I say is like that was the perception of my own reality. Okay. So I came from my perception of my reality as a childhood is I came from a very toxic environment. My mother suffers from mental illness, whether she chooses to believe it or not. My stepfather was never, hardly ever home, and my dad is from another country who I only saw limited times growing up. And so I was the oldest of four, and I took on that role of being the parent, being the caregiver, taking care of my siblings. And we weren't necessarily, middle class, upper class, however you want to word it. We were just, there were times where we didn't have food and we didn't know when our food was going to come. And if we did have food on the table, we would gobble up as quickly as we could because we didn't know when our next meal was going to come. So we came from a place of scarcity, a place of lack, and didn't have the best healthy options. There's been times in my life where I have been homeless, and there's been times in my life where I've just, had a lot of toxicity, a lot of just junk in my life. And, I struggled with depression, I struggled with anxiety, I struggled with eating disorders, I struggled with emotional eating. I had addictions to diet pills. I was a heavy drinker at one time in my life, just a lot of stuff. And never learned how to love myself, never learned how to take care of myself. I was really good at taking care of other people. That was like, I could do that, no problem, just loving everybody. But loving myself, I could not do. And so I struggled big time. I've been super, super skinny and I've been super, super overweight. And it didn't matter where I was on that scale, figuratively and physically, I was still unhappy with who I saw in the mirror. So I hated the person I saw in the mirror and every wanted to do everything to change that person, and struggled so much. And at one point in my life, I almost died twice. There were two opportunities where it could have happened. And, having a wake up call and realizing that, I needed to take care of myself or else I wasn't going to be here any longer. And so that kind of set me on my path where for what I'm doing now with people and helping them get over those limiting beliefs and those behaviors and those habits and those stories, because as a society we think we need to go outside of ourselves to take care of ourselves for happiness, for fulfillment. We need to change the outside of ourselves to be happy. And I've been there, I've done that numerous times, and it doesn't matter. You cannot change the outside until you change the inside first. So I knew that I had to change, what was going on internally first before I could change the outside exterior. And so that was like the light bulb that went off. And that was like, oh, there's got to be other people in this world that struggle the same way. So let's make it happen for other people. And so that's where I'm at now. There's a lot of like, I didn't tell the whole entire story, but there's a few little things intermixed in there. But no, to go back to your first question, it wasn't a very stable environment growing up.
I can relate to so much that you've been talking about, that poor self-esteem. And I had a period where I was always dieting and never happy with whatever weight I was, but also I had a period of being bulimic and drinking heavily and all that stuff. Different, but I can kind of relate to similar aspects of it, and also I'm sure that people watching absolutely can. So you talked about limiting beliefs. What beliefs did you inherit from your family that were good, and what did you inherit that wasn't good, that didn't really serve you?
Well, if you identify as a woman, you have been conditioned to be an unpaid caregiver for the rest of your life. That's just how it is. That's the mentality, that's the belief that you're a caregiver, that you give, 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 give. You, which then turns you into a people pleaser, it turns you into a doormat, and then you have no boundaries. And, there was a lot of controlling, there was a lot of conditioning, there was a lot of, these are the beliefs, and this is no ifs, ands, or buts. This is what you have to believe. And this is what you have to follow. And this is how you have to lead your life. And this is how you had to do things. So you had to look a certain way and dress a certain way and act a certain way and be a certain way and talk a certain way. And, there was, the another limiting belief was just about money. I was raised in a very religious household. And one of the things they always was just ingrained in you was that money was the root of all evil, which that's not even that's not even right. It's like, so growing up thinking that money was evil and that I shouldn't have it, or if I did have it, I had to hoard it and I couldn't let it go. And I would probably say there was more cons than there were pros when it came to beliefs.
Can you name any of the pros, Liza?
Pros is that I'm trying to think what a lot of the pros were. I did learn compassion, and I did learn in a different way. It was actually brought forth in another extended relationship. So it was more of a grandmother. I had the best relationship with my grandmother, and she just taught me so many things. Things that actually had detriment to later on, but things that were just really like, family and loving and caring and appreciating, and a sense of just, that was the stability in my life, was to go and spend time with her and hang out with her and her environment and be there with her. And so I know that there was people strategically put in my life to support me in different areas of my life at different times of my life. And no, I didn't have the best childhood, but I know that there were other people that helped shape the person I am today.
You talked about the light bulb moment when you realized that you had to change. Can you remember how old you were when that happened?
I was, let's see, about 31, 32, I think it was. And I'm 46 now. So, well, I'll be 46. I know I don't look like I'm 46, but I take really good care of my body and really good care of my skin and really good care of myself.
Yeah, absolutely. So how did you get from realizing that you had to change to now helping other people with their emotional eating issues and their body image? And yeah.
Well, having that light bulb moment, but also hitting that rock bottom. And not everybody has to hit a rock bottom to know that change has to come. But having that, moment that, wow, well, if I don't change, then I'm not going to be here any longer. And there's so many things that I want to experience and so much of my life that I have left that I want to explore and go on adventures and do the things that I want to do. And I had this dream when I was 14 to have this nomadic lifestyle. Well, now I have that. It was something that I had put on the back burner for so long, thinking that it was never attainable, and now I have it. And so there was just that moment where I knew that I had to change so that I could be the person I am today. And I knew that there were other people that had the same struggles or had similar situations. And I knew that it was my mission in this world to help them. It was my mission, and it's my mission in this world to really change that narrative for people, that it's selfish to take care of ourselves, that we can't show our emotions, that we have to put ourselves on the back burner, that self-care is selfish in some way. And I knew that there were other people that needed that help, that because I had that light bulb moment, and I knew, it was just like that knowledge was just like, like just like sourced inside me, and I'm like, okay, now I need to share it with the world.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's not rocket science though, is
No,
it?
it's
It
not.
comes to not when it comes to losing weight, it's not. So why do you think, Liza, that it is such a huge problem?
Oh, because of that conditioning, because of those beliefs that are deeply ingrained in us at such a young age. I mean, when we're kids, we're playful and we're joyful and we're happy, and we get to do all these things. And then we have people in our life that say, no, you can't do that any longer. No, you can't be like that. Or no, you have to, like girls have to wear pink and boys have to wear blue. And there's all these rules, that are put on us. And so we're doing this, we have this certain life and we're doing their things, and then we're told that that's wrong or that's bad. And so we get this belief that, oh, I can't be like that any longer, I have to change to be like everybody else. And so it's really, really starts in our childhood, where we lose our authenticity, we lose who we are, we lose that joyfulness and that happiness, um, and that level of like, I could be whoever I want to be, whenever I want to be it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it just changes us from there.
Tell us about the work that you do specifically.
So I it's basically reframing and retraining your brain, reframing your beliefs, your habits, your stories, those sabotaging behaviors, those triggers, those things that keep coming up for you. Emotional eating is really only a symptom of something that you are avoiding, an emotion that you're avoiding, something that you're avoiding. And so, we turn to food to fill our bodies so we don't feel an emotion. And all of us struggle with some form of emotional eating. All of us do. We all are like, oh, I'm sad, or I'm depressed, or I'm happy, I'm glad. I mean, it's like, if you're unhappy, you get ice cream. If you're sad, if you're happy, you get ice cream. If you're sad, you get ice cream. So we learn all these unhealthy emotional outlets at a very young age to go to. And there's so much unraveling and decoding and detoxing and pulling back so many layers. So pulling back all those layers and really getting down to the core issues, the core struggles that are really hiding deep down inside of us. That conditioning, that ingraining, those beliefs and those habits. So taking care of all that stuff from the inside first, and then focusing on the outside with the diet and the nutrition and the exercise and all those other things that we want to change, we feel like we have to change about ourselves. Really, when it comes down to it, it's like, it's not about the weight. Again, the weight is just a symptom of an even bigger struggle that needs to be addressed. And so taking them through that changes of their mindset first, really changing what's going on in the inside, and then helping them with the outside.
Absolutely. So if someone watching, Liza, is, they're struggling with their weight right now, they don't like their body, what advice would you give them? You've got any simple things that they could do to really just start to shift that pattern and start to see different results?
There's a bunch of different things that you can do. I mean, one of the techniques I give people is looking at themselves in the mirror. It's a mirror technique. And there's a lot of other practitioners that teach it different ways. basically the basic thing is that looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, I love you to yourself. It's so easy, it's so simple, but yet we have such a hard time saying it to ourselves. We can say it to our friends, to our spouses, to our partners, to our animals, to our, our networking buddies or whomever, everyone else we can say I love you to, but it's very hard for us to say it to ourselves. So just getting on the habit of like every time you look at yourself in the mirror saying I love you, you don't have to believe it right now. In fact, I tell people, I'm like, borrow my belief until you believe it yourself. And so saying I love you and just continuing to saying I love you, and you actually can override. It takes a while. It's a process. It's like we didn't develop habits overnight. We can't change them overnight. We didn't gain weight overnight. We can't lose it overnight. So we know this. So it takes time. It takes constantly setting that intention, being continuously setting that intention over and over and over again of doing that particular thing. So just going to the mirror every single morning and saying, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. Eventually, you will consciously override a lot of those thoughts, that pattern that's going on in your head. That inner critic that's telling you you're not worthy, you're not good enough, you're not special enough. Something as simple as that really has a huge impact on you. And scientifically, actually, I share this a lot, is scientifically that when you are attracted to something, your pupils actually dilate. So if you say, I love you to yourself with that conscious intention, I love you, I love you, I love you, and you start to notice your pupils start to dilate, that means that you are actually overriding that not good enough, not worthy enough, that I'm not lovable, that I don't love myself. You consciously override that.
Wow. I
Really
didn't know
fascinating.
that. I've
No,
done
a
that
lot of people don't know
exercise.
that.
Yeah, I've done that exercise before and I hadn't realized that. I think that's absolutely brilliant. What do you think, Liza, makes you different from all the other millions of other coaches out there that are working with people around, their body image and their weight? What's
Well,
different about you?
well, one thing that I didn't share about my childhood is that I'm a medium. I've been able to communicate with past loved ones since I was little, since I was 5. I'm also highly, highly intuitive and an empathic. And I think what sets me apart is that intuitively, I can really get in spiritually, really emotionally, mentally, really get down to the core issues and really like empathize with how you are feeling and what's going on and help you on a more deeper intuitive level than a lot of other people can. And I have that ability to to really hone in on what the core issue is intuitively. And a lot of people don't have they either choose to not have access to it or they just don't experience it. So I really think that's what sets me apart, is just being highly, highly intuitive and empathic to people's emotions and feelings and what's really going on.
I'm sure there are some people watching. You might be thinking, "Oh my goodness, Liza, you're getting a bit woo-woo
Woo
now."
woo.
So, have you got any kind of examples of how you've worked with someone in that way and an outcome that you can share with us?
um it's just
Right on the spot there.
you're right on the spot. Um, there, so I did have a client who hated herself in pictures, hated herself in her pictures, just didn't like herself in the mirror. Um, it really just every time her picture was taken, she'd be the one to be in the background and all you could see was her little face, or she'd be the one to take the picture. And I was coaching with her and we were going through some things, and I had asked her, I said, intuitively, we had figured out basically there was a situation that happened at a really, really young age where some photos were taken, and it was just one little thing where somebody had said something to her and it just stuck in her head. Now, I wouldn't have known something like this, but intuitively, I just tapped into the knowing that there was a situation, that this situation happened, and X, Y, and Z was said, and which completely floored her. So we did some healing. We did some healing exercises, and I gave her the I love you one, and she didn't like it. She didn't want to do it, and I had said, well, just take baby steps. Just look at yourself in the mirror, for a couple seconds or however many minutes. Just look at yourself. And eventually, she started saying, "I love you, I love you, I love you." And I remember her remember her messaging me and saying, I don't know what you did to me, but today I had my picture taken and I absolutely loved it. And the first thought I thought was, I'm beautiful. And I was like, that's amazing. She's like, I didn't think about that's, that those thoughts that were in my head anymore. I didn't think about that. I didn't have that memory from my childhood anymore. I didn't have those thoughts. And all I thought was, I looked at myself in that moment and knew that I was beautiful and I was worthy of having a picture taken. And still to this day, she sends me pictures and says, look how beautiful I am. So how it works, sometimes it's just a knowing. It's just something that just comes to me, and I just have a knowing about certain things, so I can really just hone in on that and heal them and help them heal on a deeper level. People ask me, they're like, how do you know? And I'm like, I just know. It's just a knowing that
Amazing.
it is. So
I love those things we can't explain, Liza. I'm all for
right.
that.
They're truly magical. They're
Yeah,
magical and they're wonderful experiences.
yeah. What do you do when you're not working?
Oh, well, like I said, when I was 14, I had that dream of being a nomad. Well, I call myself locationally independent, which just means the world is my home and I get to travel everywhere on it. And so do a lot of traveling. I'm a huge foodie. I love food. I have I have that loving relationship with food now. And that's what I like people to get to, is to have that where you really just enjoy your food and enjoy the love and the stuff that just went into it. It's like I can eat a dish and feel the love that went into that, feel the preparation that went into that meal. Love to eat. I love nature. I love being outdoors, and um, we've been hiking in a national park here, not too far from here. That's just been just gorgeous. The leaves are beautiful, and the transition of the summer to fall. I'm a little disappointed because I like the warmth. So I'm actually heading to Florida in a little bit, and to enjoy some more warmth. So really just traveling and, eating delicious foods and getting to experience different cultures and different places and having adventures was always something that was such a dream of mine. And now it's become a reality.
Wonderful. One final question.
Mhm.
When you're no longer on this planet, how would you like to be remembered?
um, that I was authentic, I was real, I was raw, I was loving, supportive, um, that I made a difference in people's lives, that I was a powerful influencer.
Wonderful. It's been so great talking to you.
Yes, yes, likewise.
Liza Lomax, thank you ever so much.
Thank you very much for having me.